beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. Within this video I'll be taking you on an easy guide to brewing a great Munich Helles lager. The German word Helles translates into English as bright or light. These terms well define this style, as the beer is light in colour and a classic example of an easy drinking, universally enjoyed lager that is great all year round but absolutely perfect for the summer. So let's get started with the process. Within this guide I'll be running through a very tried and tested recipe of mine that you can brew with total confidence. This recipe, like all of my shared recipes, can be found in full within the video's description, which is underneath the video window when viewed on a desktop computer. You will also find that I've put a link to the recipe on Brewfather too. Your first steps in brewing this will be actually in converting the recipe first and then ordering in the ingredients. I have an easy guide to doing this on Brewfather on my channel as shown on screen now. Recipe conversion is a vital part of the process for the intended results. The next area to look at is your water profile. Within Brewfather I suggest using the lager profile as shown on screen. Brewfather will then advise you as to what to add to your water to make the necessary changes. This will provide you with the ideal water chemistry for this beer that will make the grainy sweet malt character balance nicely with the hot bitterness that this style is famous for. Let's now start the brew. Be sure to add your grain gradually into your preheated mash water and give it a good stir as you go to ensure that all of the grain is wet before adding more. Once all of the grain is present, give it a good final stirring to finalise. We can then start our mash. This brew has the following mash steps. As you can see, I used the cookie cutter mash steps for this one and find that with today's modern malt that this is ideal. Let's now have a look at this recipe's vital statistics and grain bill. This beer has an estimated ABV of 5.3%, which makes it on the higher end for alcohol for this style, but in my years of evolving this recipe I have found that it is simply more appreciated by a wider range of people at over 5%. Looking at the estimated final gravity, you will see that this one finishes at 1.008. This is key to this style because a dry finish is desired. The BU-GU ratio here is 0.41, making this a little sweeter grain-wise, which I have found adds to the drinkability, which once again is key to this style along with the golden colour. The grain bill shown here is a little more complex than some recipes that you will see out there, but as someone who really enjoys this style I am keen to see it exhibit all of the important subtle flavours for the style, rather than it taste like a middle ground lager. At 83% of the grist we have our main fermentable, which is Pilsner Malt. As a base malt this is our canvas for flavour, but this malt will also add in a nice level of crispness which is characteristic for the lager styles. At 6% I have acid malt, which I have kept in to show how I reduced my water's pH. Set this for yourself for your own water at 5.2 pH, or remove it and replace it with Pilsner malt if you would rather adjust your pH in a different way. At 5% we have Carapils, which is a dextrin style malt that will increase head retention and mouthfeel without having a significant effect on colour, flavour or the FG of the resulting beer. Then at 4% of the grist we have Vienna Malt, which adds in some gentle malty notes that will sit in the background. Some will detect these as honey, almond and hazelnut if they have a sensitive taste palate. Finally we have Melanoidin malt at 2%, which will add in some slight biscuit and honey flavours to the background, as well as promoting a smoother mouthfeel. This combination of malts at these ratios certainly creates something very interesting compared to your average lager, so as such they are perfect for this style. I then did asparage by hand evenly across the top plate to rinse the remaining sugars from the grain. At the start of the boil I stirred in the protein head so that it will amalgamate with the rest of the brew, rather than removing it as some brewers do. Once the head was cleared I then started the boil timer and added my first hop addition. While I stir this in, let's talk about the boil. Firstly, I am only boiling this for 30 minutes. Please do understand that long gone are the days where Pilsner malt needs more boiling than this. This is simply because SMM levels in modern malt are actually at an all-time low, meaning that DMS from modern malt is a thing of the past. This does not apply to some farm malts though, as they can be less modified during their malting process, so be careful of those. The reason I'm going with a 30-minute boil for this one is simply because I want to encourage some more malt flavour rather than having it boiled off. Myself and many brewers these days have found very pleasing results with a 30-minute boil in general for brewing, and I urge you to try it for yourself if you have not already. You will note that I have two hop additions for this brew that are both Saaz. Saaz is certainly a great choice for this style, but if for whatever reason you cannot obtain it, then Tettnang, Sterling or Polish Lublin will actually work very nicely too. Furthermore, there are different versions of Saaz now that are grown in different countries of the world that will also work nicely. I am using an Australian version here personally known as Summer. I decided to use my Grainfather counterflow chiller to cool this one. This process starts with sanitizing it by running boiling hot water through it before the end of the boil for a few minutes. Once you are cooling, then it is good to keep an eye on the temperature so that you can start the transfer into your fermenter at the right point. I use a Grainfather water meter with a digital thermometer for this purpose. It was then time to start transferring into my fermenter. Once I had a small amount transferred, then I pitched my yeast, which in this case is Fermentis 3470. I have used this yeast a great deal in the past and the results are always good. If for whatever reason you cannot pick this up, then I also recommend the use of Lollemann's Diamond yeast, which is rather similar. If you are planning to ferment this one without pressure, then I recommend the following fermentation profile for quality and fast results. Do note though that the time stated here going from step 1 to 2 is actually 5 days, but I do suggest that you ensure that you have a 50% attenuation from your yeast before moving to step 2 for the very best of results. In terms of the last step, which is shown on the right hand side of the screen in light blue, this is your lagering period. Please do keep in mind that this is not an American lager, so as such it should be lagered at a higher temperature to ensure that the subtle flavours remain. This is shown as 21 days, but the amount of time that you should lager for is very much a question of taste, and if you are able to, then taking taste tests each week will allow you to stop the lagering when the flavour is where you want it to be. Naturally, for those that can, I would recommend pressure fermentation for any lager. Shown on screen are the temperature and pressure levels that have worked very well for me. Do not worry if you cannot go quite as hot as this, nor should you worry if your circumstances dictate that you need to go a little bit hotter too. Both 3470 and Diamond yeast are more tolerant than some other lager yeast strains, hence why I recommend them. Let's now give the final beer a pour and I will go through the tasting notes. This beer was lagered for 4 weeks at 5 degrees Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit before being transferred to a corny keg. No fining agents were used. At the point that you see it at now, this beer has been in the keg for 3 weeks at an average of 5 degrees Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit with a pressure setting of 12 psi. As you can see, this helps promote a nice head for this beer, which is typical to how this beer is served in its homeland. Let's now go through my tasting notes for this one. In terms of aroma, this beer has a very fresh and light malt aroma, along with some mild spicy herbal qualities that are typical from Saaz hops. The flavour starts with this one with moderately clean malt that finishes with a very rounded bitterness that has hints of floral and spice. The Saaz hops are certainly present, but in a mild, easy form. My personal notes for this beer is that it is a super easy drinking beer that has a wide appeal due to its soft and easygoing flavour. Even those that seldom drink beer find this to be very thirst quenching and moreish. To my mind, this is one of the best lager styles due to its good levels of flavour that further promote its drinkability. Certainly this is a beer that you can enjoy all year round. The overall impression is that this is clean and malty with a little sweetness that blends in very nicely with a soft yet dry flavourful bitterness that leads you into a subtle spicy and herbal flavours and aromas of Saaz. A classic beer that is simply timeless, and yet it still hasn't caught on worldwide in quite the way that I believe it should. So there you have it. Do let me know what you think in the comments section of this video, or if you have any questions. I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For further support, you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel, then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!